I had always been drawn to the eerie and forgotten corners of the world, the kinds of places that time and people had abandoned, leaving only the ghosts of what once was. It was one of these forgotten places that caught my attention, a small, once thriving village hidden deep within a dense forest, cut off from civilization. The kind of place that whispers to you in dreams, a place you know you shouldn't visit but can't help but feel compelled to explore. I had to see it for myself. I arrived at the village at dusk, the sun sinking low behind the trees, casting long shadows across the winding, narrow roads. The village sat quietly, as if it had never been touched by the hands of time. The houses, though dilapidated, still stood in silent defiance of decay. Their wooden frames creaked in the wind, and their windows, now cracked and broken, stared out like empty, hollow eyes. The smell of mildew and decay hung in the air, mixing with the earthy scent of damp leaves and rot. I stepped off the road and into the village, my boots crunching against the gravel. The silence was oppressive, almost suffocating, as if the place itself was holding its breath. No birds called, no animals scurried through the underbrush. It was as though the village had been frozen in time, caught in a moment of stillness that felt unnatural. The first house I explored was small, its roof sagging in places, the walls stained with rot. Inside, the air was thick with dust, and the floorboards creaked beneath my weight. The furniture, long abandoned, stood like forgotten sentinels, their fabric faded and torn, and the walls were covered in peeling wallpaper, the patterns barely discernible. I felt an unease settle in my chest, but I shook it off. It was just a village after all, a place long abandoned, nothing more. I moved on to the next house and the next, each more decayed than the last. But it was when I reached the village square that I felt something shift. The square was at the heart of the village, a large, open space surrounded by broken buildings. At its center stood a statue, weathered by years of neglect. It depicted a figure draped in a cloak, its face obscured by a hood. There was something unsettling about the statue, something wrong in the way it seemed to loom over the square. I couldn't quite place it, but I felt drawn to it. As I approached the statue, the temperature dropped suddenly, a chill that cut through my jacket like ice. The wind picked up, howling through the trees, and the leaves began to swirl around me. I reached out a hand, brushing my fingers against the cold stone. A strange sensation washed over me, a feeling as though I had just disturbed something ancient, something that had been lying dormant for far too long. I pulled my hand back quickly, heart racing. That's when I heard it. A whisper, soft at first, like a voice carried on the wind. It was faint, almost inaudible, but it was there. I strained my ears, trying to catch the words, but they were too far away, too garbled. My breath caught in my throat, and a wave of dread washed over me. I wasn't alone. I spun around, scanning the square, but there was no one there. The building stood empty, the streets silent. Yet the air felt thick, charged with an energy I couldn't explain. I took a step back, my eyes darting around, searching for anything out of place. That's when I saw it. The door to the old chapel at the edge of the square cracked open just a sliver. Without thinking, I moved toward it. The door creaked as I pushed it open, revealing a dark, cavernous interior. The air inside was stale, thick with the scent of mold and dust. My flashlight beam cut through the darkness, illuminating rows of pews, their wood worn and splintered. The altar stood at the far end of the room, covered in a layer of dust, a single candle flickering weakly in front of it. I walked further into the chapel, the floorboards groaning beneath me. I felt the presence of something watching me. I turned, my flashlight sweeping the room, but there was nothing. No shadow, no figure, just the cold, empty space of the chapel. Then, I heard it again, the whisper. This time, it was louder, clearer. It came from the back of the chapel, from the shadows beyond the altar. I couldn't make out the words, but the tone was unmistakable. It was a warning. a pleading. I took a step forward, drawn to the sound, until I reached the altar. Behind it, there was a small door, half hidden by an overgrown tapestry. The door was slightly ajar, as if inviting me inside. Against my better judgment, I pushed it open and stepped through. The room beyond was small, cramped, and cold. The walls were covered in strange markings, symbols I couldn't recognize, etched deep into the stone. At the center of the room was a stone slab, and upon it lay a figure, covered in a dark, tattered cloth. I hesitated, my heart pounding in my chest. There was something about this place, something about this room, that made my blood run cold. I stepped closer to the slab, and the moment I did, the whispering stopped. Silence engulfed me. I reached out, pulling the cloth away, and what I saw made my stomach turn. The figure on the slab was not a body, not a corpse, but a mask. A grotesque, twisted mask, its eyes wide and empty, its mouth stretched into a grotesque grin. And then it hit me. The village wasn't abandoned at all. The people were still here, hiding in the shadows, watching, waiting. The mask wasn't just an object. It was a warning, a symbol of something far darker, something that had been watching me all along. The door slammed shut behind me with a deafening thud. I wasn't alone. Not anymore. I found myself drawn to the village like a moth to a flame. It wasn't the beauty of it, for there was none to speak of. No, it was the sheer isolation, the promise of something untouched, hidden beneath years of neglect. A place forgotten by the world, but not forgotten by time. It was late autumn when I arrived, the air cold and biting as it swept through the empty streets. The village was nestled in a valley, surrounded by craggy hills and twisted trees that clawed at the sky. From the moment I stepped off the bus, I felt the weight of silence press against me, as if the land itself was holding its breath. I checked the map one last time. This was the place. Raven's Hollow. The houses sat like broken teeth in the hollow, their frames sagging under the weight of age. Windows were shattered, doors hung crooked on their hinges, and the streets were cracked, overgrown with weeds that stretched their spindly fingers toward the sky. The air smelled faintly of decay and something else, something faintly metallic, like the remnants of old blood. It seemed as though the very earth had grown tired and was slowly being swallowed by the forest. I started walking. Each step echoed in the empty streets, the sound swallowed by the oppressive fog that clung to everything, thick and unnerving. There were no sounds of life, no birds, no animals scurrying about, just the distant hum of wind passing through rotting wood. The silence was suffocating, unsettling. It felt as though I were trespassing, like the village wasn't merely abandoned, but intentionally forsaken. The first house I entered was a crumbling structure near the edge of the village. The door creaked ominously as I pushed it open, revealing a dark interior where the smell of mold and age mixed with something more putrid. The wooden floorboards were warped and cracked, and the air was thick with dust, disturbed only by the occasional scurrying of rats in the walls. I moved deeper into the house, shining my flashlight across the walls. Faded photographs hung crookedly in the hall, faces of people I would never know, frozen in time. I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't just walking through an abandoned home. I was walking through a place that had been left behind for a reason, as though it held some terrible secret, a secret that had waited for years to be discovered. After a while, I left the house, wandering further into the village. The fog thickened, wrapping itself around me like a shroud, and I lost track of time. I had no destination, no purpose other than to explore the remains of this forgotten place. But the more I walked, the more I began to feel watched. It wasn't obvious, nothing that I could point to, but it was the sensation of eyes on the back of my neck, the feeling that someone, or something, was tracking my every movement. I came upon what appeared to be the town square, an open space surrounded by the ruins of shops and a long abandoned inn. The buildings here were even worse, their roofs caved in, the windows completely shattered, as if a great force had shattered the village in one terrible moment. In the center of the square was a well, its stone sides crumbling, and a rusted bucket hanging from a thick rope. I approached the well, drawn to it inexplicably. There was a deep, dark pit below, and for a moment, I thought I saw something shift within it. But when I leaned over to peer closer, there was nothing. Just the darkness. Nothing at all. A sudden gust of wind blew through the square, scattering dead leaves and bringing with it the faintest whisper. It was unintelligible at first, but it grew clearer the longer I listened, until I could make out the words. "Leave now! Leave this place!" I froze, my heart hammering in my chest. I wasn't alone. I turned quickly, half expecting to see someone standing behind me, but the square was still empty, the fog rolling in thicker now, swirling like smoke. My breath came in ragged gasps as I slowly backed away from the well, my pulse quickening. Another whisper. "Leave, or you will be trapped. Forever." I turned and fled, my footsteps pounding against the cobblestones as I stumbled through the village. My mind raced, heart thudding in my chest. I had to get out. There was something wrong with this place, something ancient and malevolent that had been waiting for me. I didn't stop running until I reached the edge of the village, where the trees began to press in on all sides. Just as I neared the forest, I stopped, gasping for breath. I could still hear the whispers, but they were fainter now, almost as if the village itself were sighing in relief. I turned one last time, half expecting to see something, or someone, emerging from the shadows. But there was nothing. The village was still, the air thick with an eerie calm. The feeling of being watched never left, though, not even as I stepped back onto the road leading out of Raven's Hollow. And yet, as I glanced back once more, something caught my eye. At the far end of the village, standing just beyond the well in the center of the square, was a figure, a shadow, cloaked in the fog, just standing there, unmoving. I shivered and turned away. The bus was waiting at the station. It was only then that I realized how long I had been gone. Hours, perhaps even longer. My watch had stopped the moment I stepped into the village. As I boarded the bus, I felt the weight of something cold press against the back of my neck. A whisper, softer than before but unmistakable, right behind me. "You're one of us now." I froze, my blood turning to ice. I turned slowly, but no one was there. The bus started, and we pulled away, leaving Raven's Hollow behind. But the feeling of cold never left. The figure in the fog? It hadn't been a person at all. It had been me.